What's up, fight fans? This is Kurt DeVille with Counterpunch Boxing News, and I have some new news concerning Oscar De La Hoya. Oscar De La Hoya responds to the lawsuit based and filed by Canelo Alvarez. Oscar De La Hoya, of course, is the Hall of Fame fighter and the promoter of Golden Boy Promotions. He wants to make it clear that he blames the multi-million-dollar standoff with Canelo Alvarez not fighting is the fault of Dazn, not himself. De La Hoya spoke to boxing insider Dan Rafael, who wrote about it on BoxingScene.com. And he wasted no time in shifting blame on his own broken relationship with the four-division world champion Alvarez and the broadcast outlet. And this is what he said. He says, they're not living up to their contract. My story. De La Hoya, he says, in my mind, Canelo is not willing to fight anyone. No, in my mind, Canelo is willing to fight anyone, obviously. The way he's proved it many times in his career. He's willing to fight Billy Joe Saunders. He's willing to fight Callum Smith. My frustration is Dazn, De La Hoya told BoxingScene.com. Okay. Another frustration is Dazn's obligation to live up to the contract that they have signed. That's a huge frustration. That's a huge deal breaker for us. That's where the frustration is. How can you fight a top-level opponent like Callum Smith, an elite opponent like Callum Smith, and Billy Joe Saunders, and then have Dazn not live by their contract? It doesn't make sense to me, and that's where the frustration is. Okay, it's important to note that Alvarez and his attorneys named De La Hoya individually and Golden Boy Promotions in the lawsuit, which is their attempt to break their contract with both. And De La Hoya's comments above were before he knew that he too was being named in the lawsuit. So the question is now, since De La Hoya has pretty much took himself out of the equation and blamed Dazn, like he was siding with Canelo and like, yeah, it's Dazn's problem. Yeah, right? But then he didn't know that Canelo, no, I'm talking about you. Tú está bien. Oscar De La Hoya. So I wonder what Oscar is going to, how he's going to respond now that he knows that he's included in this particular situation. And it's just interesting to know what he does and how he responds now after knowing all the facts. See, you have to know all the facts about a particular thing, whatever it is. And him saying, oh, well, Canelo Alvarez is willing to fight anybody, Billy Joe Saunders, Callum Smith, he's proved it time and time again. You know, I believe that Canelo, he knows what he's worth. And when you know that you're a star, most stars don't fight the best opposition. They fight what people think, or they fight people that make them look good. An old, dried up, half drunk Kovalev, he's battle worn. Better Beef, no. Callum Smith, no. Billy Joe Saunders, no. All these guys, Bivol, no. All those guys I just mentioned, champions and undefeated. All of them. And he hasn't fought any of them. And then when the Billy Joe Saunders fight was on the table, what happened? Hey, you want to cut your pay to fight me? Cut your pay and you can fight Canelo. That's basically what was said. And Billy Joe's like, no. See you later. I'm not doing it. And it makes sense. But now, do you see how the tables turned? He now wants to sue Dazn, which he did sign a contract. So it's a standoff. I understand that. But do you see how karma works? You wanted Billy Joe Saunders to take a pay cut, because of the coronavirus, because of the pandemic. But then yet, when you try to pull a guy that we never heard of out of the box and say, I'll fight him. Oh, but you'll fight all these other fighters that Oscar De La Hoya said you'll fight, but you're fighting this guy that no one wants to see. No one really knows. Okay? You can do that. But however, you can't take a pay cut because Dazn said, we're not paying you for the amount of money that we obligated to pay you for this one, Canelo. That's where the lawsuit is. Okay? So if that's the case, it's a sense of karma. De La Hoya is trying to leave himself out of it, but he's knee deep in it. Okay, so you know, Canelo wants to break contract with De La Hoya, and I really don't know what De La Hoya is going to do if he loses Canelo. Honestly, you know what I mean. And I do question the future of Golden Boy. You know, because Golden Boy is just pretty much as old as what 15 years old or something like that. What was it in 05, 06, and then when he was starting his momentum. So he's been in business for a while, and he based a lot of things on Canelo, you know, and then Canelo was the star, and they kind of put all their energy in Canelo and, you know, and promoting him. But then now this happens because that's what happens when you have a person that I guess smells himself too much, you know. But pragmatically, again, this guy Canelo, he has a point. If they agreed to pay him, they should have paid him. Now, of course, we didn't know a whole pandemic was going to take place, you know, and we haven't had the last pandemic we've had was over 100 years ago. Then now all of a sudden we're going to have one, you know. So it's a slippery slope because Dazn could say, well, look at the economy. We can't pay him based on how this works. You know, that's really the reason why you should actually, you know, pay-per-view was exactly what it was. You know, and now they shouldn't have went after pay-per-view like they did. If you're going to do something new, don't try to compete with something old. Because if that new thing doesn't work out like you planned, and then, you know, who knew this? If it doesn't work out how like it's planned, you don't know what's going to happen. So these type of things can occur. So the thing between Oscar De La Hoya and Canelo Alvarez, you know, it's going to go one of two ways. You know, either he's going to have to stay with Golden Boy if Dazn wins, or if Canelo wins, he's going to leave them all and then take his money, and he'll be laughing all the way to the bank. Okay, so I just find it strange, man. You know, because De La Hoya, you know, he's losing a lot of steam if he loses Canelo Alvarez. But anyway, you guys tell me what you think about Oscar De La Hoya's response to Canelo, adding him to the lawsuit, and how he responds to it. Of course, please subscribe, and you guys been counterpunching. Peace.